Hello my soccer universe, to a review of the first full soccer/football weekend of 2025. It felt already quite full. It was not quite because, some big teams were not really in action because, Supercopa, there was an FA Cup in there, but it felt already full. We had the return of the Bundesliga and the Eredivisie. We had really nice action also in Ligue 1. We had actually quite some interesting results in Spain as well. And then a little makeup game in Portugal that really changes the entire picture from what we thought as well. So yeah, let's dig right in. And I guess the most surprises came in the first league that we're looking at, the Eredivisie. The return of the Eredivisie gave us quite some interesting, if not surprising, results. Ajax, none of these. 2-1 at home to Waalwijk, was already 2-0 at the half. Steven Berghuis with a penalty, and Kenneth Taylor after Jordan Henderson assist, already settling the game. There was a goal disallowed only late on. Waalwijk pulled one back. However, the first surprise result came on Saturday evening when AZ got a very credible 2-2 draw at PSV. Probably could have gotten even the win. That twice took lead through Lachto and Merdink. However, twice Luc de Jong could equalize, the second one coming from the penalty spot. Slight wobble, but PSV is still the huge favorites to win the title. Although, at the moment, it's only 4 points ahead of Ajax. Twente also making a push for the Champions League spots, potentially beating Willem II 6-2 at home. It was 2-2 at the half. Stain getting a hat-trick. I also want to point out that Austrian Behonek for Willem II got the first equalizer in the 31st minute. However, second half, all Twente 6-2. Pretty emphatic result. And probably the shocker of the weekend came in Rotterdam, where Feyenoord took on Utrecht. Utrecht, the best away team of the league, and they showed as much. Yes, they were defensively tight and hit Feyenoord on the counter-attack. Feyenoord creating a few chances. Early in the second half, Feyenoord had a goal disallowed for offside, was pretty clear. Then, as soon as Sebastian Aller came on, Sebastian Aller is now playing for Utrecht, things changed. 2 counter-attacks, 60th, 65th minute, and Utrecht lead 2-0. And Feyenoord can only pull one back through Jimenez penalty. Utrecht really on track to solidifying that potential Champions League spot. And lastly, since I have the jersey of theirs hanging back there and they have been so beleaguered at the beginning of the season, Heerenveen get a 4-2 away win at promoted NAC Breda. The first game back from the winter break saw a very emphatic Leverkusen win at Dortmund. It's 3-2, but the scoring is belying the dominance that Leverkusen showed, especially in the first half. They took full advantage of the makeshift backline for Dortmund, or in the first minute, Teja, after a good pressing movement set up by Andrich, makes it 1-0. In the 8th minute, Schick gets a second one. Yes, Jamie Gittens, it was a really crazy start to the game. Pulls one back in the 12th minute, however Patrick Schick himself still makes a third. There could have been more. This was really ugly for Dortmund. In the second half, Leverkusen let it slide a little bit. Also has to be noted, Florian Wirtz was not in the lineup because he was stuck in a traffic jam. He only came on in the second half. However, it was an unlucky penalty call that saw Girassi pull one back for Dortmund to make the scoreline palatable, but that game was never only 3-2 for Leverkusen. Freiburg got also a 3-2 win at home, but this was one of the crazier games this season. Freiburg were cruising for roughly 80 minutes. When Grifo in the 74th made it 3-0, there was only one winner. However, already at 0-0, Kiel had a pretty big chance where the goalie just sprinted back to tap it off the line. But then Remberg with an own goal and a beautiful Günther goal made it 2-0 at the half. As I said, Grifo made it a third one. And then out of nowhere, Harris pulls one back and suddenly Freiburg were on the back foot and even conceded one more. There could have been even the equalizer. Freiburg hang on, big 3 points. They're looking towards Europe next season. Meanwhile, Heidenheim get a vital 2-0 home win against Union Berlin. Never really in doubt that one. Kretzi gave an early lead to Heidenheim from Austria Vienna striker. Then Rothe sent off for Union Berlin, who are now being dragged into this relegation battle. And then very late on, back at the second one for Heidenheim. And despite having Chris Ilzer, the championship coach from Austria, at the helm, Hoffenheim also cannot get going. They lose at home 1-0 to Wolfsburg. A result that means Wolfsburg are now looking towards the top of the table. The winning goal came after a corner kick through Amura, and Wolfsburg were the overall more mature and better team. The sensation of the league so far are Mainz, who get a relatively unforced 2-0 win over Bochum. Burkhardt scoring both goals. He's heavily linked with a move to Frankfurt. However, he declared himself to stay until the end of the season, at least at Mainz. Speaking of Frankfurt, in what might be Omar Mamouchi's last game for Frankfurt, he scores the winner at St. Pauli 1-0. Actually, nice individual action, but he should have scored at least one, if not two more. This was a crazy game where the woodwork was hit 4 times. This was not a 1-0. This would have ended 4-3 or something like that. Would have been more representative of how open that game was. Frankfurt also staying in the top 4. Then in the evening, finishing largely let down Bayern. Yes, there was no Musiala. They get the winning goal through a questionable Kane penalty in the 68th minute. However, it was overall fully deserved. Still, Bayern kind of looking a little bit off. Are they feeling the pressure from Leverkusen? In Leipzig, Xavi Simons is back in the lineup, and Leipzig are a completely different animal. He scores a brace in the first half. Benjamin Seschko in the 47th minute with a brilliant shot from just outside the box. 3-1 settling the game. Baumgartner makes it 4-1. A little bit too high. Berg pulls one back. Leipzig for once had their finishing boots on. And in the last game of the round, Stuttgart get an overall deserved, however, hard fought 1-0 win at Augsburg. Dennis Undorf scoring the winning goal in the 65th minute. Looked a little bit offside, but they had VAR, so obviously it wasn't. My wardrobe choice for the Portuguese segment was a little bit of a hard one, but it was helped by Benfica winning the League Cup on penalties over city rival Sporting, so that made it easy. However, the biggest result was that the game between Nacional and Porto was finished this weekend, and it ended with a 2-0 win for Nacional. 2 first-half goals by Dudu and Sevitor gave them already the win. Yes, in the second half, Porto really were pushing. However, they cannot even find a single goal. This means now that Porto could not overtake Sporting, and Sporting are still a point ahead of their rival. We also had 3 cup games on the weekend with a big surprise. OL was beating Vitória de Guimarães 2-1 at home. That's 4th tier against a really good Liga Portugal side. And then we had 2 top tier duels with Rio Ave beating Casa Pia away from home 3-1 and Moreirense losing at Gil Vicente. For a while it seemed like Monaco could challenge PSG, however their results are sometimes letting up. This weekend they were 2-0 down at Nantes, however Embolo and Salisu pull it back to 2-2, however they cannot find a... Meanwhile, the sensation from last season, Brest get a pretty huge 2-1 home win over Lyon. Camara and Ajorc already by the 25th minute had a 2-0 lead, Veretout pulls one back just before the halftime break. However, Lyon cannot only find an equalizer, Brest see this out relatively comfortably. And then there's even the bad news coming from the DNCG that the guarantees that have been promised by Lyon owner Textor are not being approved. So there's still the spectre of relegation hanging above the Lyonnais. With a 4-2 win at Reims, Nice are sprinting into 4th place, putting some pressure even on Monaco in 3rd place at the moment. There was no Keito Nakamura goal for Reims, however Laborde scored a brace for Nice. Then on Saturday evening, former OM coach Sampaoli faces his former team as a coach of Rennes. Rennes had a 1-0 lead through Kalimuendo, who also had missed a penalty just before that. However, Mason Greenwood gets an equalizer before the half and then assists Rabiot right after the half. Marseille at the moment the only possible challenger for PSG. Speaking of former Austrian Bundesliga strikers, Emmanuel Emega gets a brace for Strasbourg in a 2-1 away win at Toulouse, meaning Strasbourg move now in the top half of the table. Is there more in there? And then an Ousmane Dembélé brace early on already in the game settles the game for PSG against Saint-Etienne. Yes, Davidashvili pulls one back in the second half, however the result was never in doubt. PSG kind of cruising to another title. The third round in the FA Cup was honestly anything but magical, also thanks to a draw with many Premier League teams facing much lower sides at home. The only real upsets came with Brentford facing Plymouth Argyle at home and losing 1-0. Great start to new Plymouth coach Miran Muslic, who is actually from Upper Austria. Former Cercle Bruges coach, of course. In one of the ties of the round, Graham Potter, in his first game for West Ham, took on Aston Villa away from home. Beautiful 150-year anniversary jersey for Aston Villa. They found themselves, however, down 1-0 through Paquetá, who already had missed an earlier chance, but in the end, Villa were the better team. Onana and the Rodgers turned the game around in the span of about 5 minutes. Liverpool get a relatively unfast 4-0 home win against Accrington Stanley, with Chiesa scoring his first goal for Liverpool in the 90th minute, Diogo Jota, Alexander-Arnold and Dance scoring the other 3. Meanwhile, Chelsea also took a 4th-tier side at home in Morecambe, winning 5-0, even could afford missing an Nkunku penalty that would have made it 1-0. However, Adebayo makes it 1-0 at the half, and then Nkunku, Adebayo and Joao Felix with 2 more goals. However, not as big as Manchester City, who beat local rivals, not rivals, Salford 8-0 at home. 1 goal for each year that Pep Guardiola actually lives in Salford. Doku, Mubama, O'Reilly, Grealish is also on score sheet, make it 4-0. McAtee then scores a hat-trick in the second half, and Doku also adds another one via penalty. An almost upset happened at Tamworth, with Spurs being dragged to overtime by the 5th-tier National League side, and it took until the 101st minute when an own goal settles the game towards Spurs. Kulusevski and Brennan Johnson adding 2 more. Not a good showing. Tamworth really good for at least a draw, if not going to penalties. Of course, the outstanding tie was Arsenal against Manchester United, a game that Arsenal should have won twice or thrice over, if you like, with all the chances that they had, finishing and letting them down. Bruno Fernandes gave United the lead in the 52nd minute. Really nice attack. However, Diego Dalot is sent off a little bit later. That really ignited the game. Then Gabriel gets an equalizer. Ødegaard has the chance to win it from the penalty spot. Sees his penalty missed, although the penalty was a rather sketchy one, I would have to say. Goes all the way to penalties, where United starts. Kai Havertz misses the second one for Arsenal. United convert all of them, especially Xerxes, the 5th one. When the world is talking this weekend about Spanish football, they talk about Barcelona winning the Supercopa, and while it was an impressive result in the final, it's almost enough attention that I gave it to this bogus competition. I honor Barcelona by showing a scarf right behind that Girona jersey. That should be enough. Much rather talk about what happened in La Liga. For instance, Rayo beating Celta Vigo 2-1 at home, with Mbarba and Jorge de Frutos scoring the 2 goals and moving now into the top half. After a wobbly season last year, Rayo seemed to be on good footing again. Another team that kind of had a little bit of a turnaround is Girona, getting a very late win through Solis Romero in the 91st minute at Alaves. However, that caps off a really good run by Girona that sees them still in 8th spot. Saturday also saw a surprise win for Real Valladolid, beating Betis at home 1-0, and overall actually quite deserved, I would say. Weird jersey matchup also. Perez in the 58th minute getting the much celebrated winner. In the evening then, Sevilla and Valencia played out a rather dreary 1-1 that now sees Valencia go bottom of the table thanks to Real Valladolid's win, and also Sevilla middling to low in the table. But probably the biggest result was Atletico Madrid winning 1-0 at home to Osasuna thanks to a Julian Alvarez goal. There should have been more goals. Overall it looked comfortable, but they could not get it done, and later on Osasuna had the chance to actually equalize. There was also a disallowed goal with a chicken wing handball by Antoine Griezmann early on. But yes, Atleti win, I think, their 14th competitive game in a row, barely conceding goals for now. They are now at the halfway point, the leaders in the table. Last 2 times they actually won that league. So it's a narrow lead. But Atletico look rather impressive and also have a rather deep squad. Maybe the first team squad is maybe not quite there when I look at Real Madrid or Barcelona, but the depth, that's quite impressive by Atletico, and that might win them this title. And Monday evening for once had a really good matchup between Real Sociedad and Villarreal, 2 teams that are hoping to land in Europe, and Real Sociedad got a really vital 1-0 home win. The goal actually came early in the second half when Oyarzabal, I only can imagine this was meant as a clearance, however he played it so forward that Take Kubo can dart out of his own half, past a defender, then wiggles past another one and put it into net. Really nice individual effort. There were then chances on both sides. First half, I forgot, Sucic also hit the post for Real Sociedad. However, Villarreal probably had the majority of the chances. However, it was always Ramiro who stood tall, and to be honest, the chances were not all that big either. So that was our first full ride through Europe. Now it's your turn. Please let me know how you thought about these games and where do you see all these leagues going. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. I'll talk to you soon about more things in my soccer universe. Bye! Hey there! I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, here are some videos and playlists that you may enjoy too. Also, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit the little bell icon so you get notified whenever something happens in my soccer universe. And with that, have a wonderful day. Bye!